What's up, y'all? Okay, this is Ready to Love, Miami 2, Episode 5, Math Ain't Mathin'. I love saying something ain't mathin', okay? Okay, so they start this episode with them revealing which of the women are going to be eliminated because they left on a cliffhanger between Jeffrey, Marcia, Corvea. First, we all knew it wasn't going to be Jeffrey because they kept showing her in the preview for the next episode. And then, when they were releasing some clips prior to the new episode showing, you see Marcia talking about Jeffrey and Blake, about their tension on the boat. And I'm like, so we can clearly tell it's going to be Corvea. I mean, that wasn't hard. So they but I did say that I really truly felt like it was gonna hardcore be either Corvea was gonna go home or they were gonna save her because they used the lifeline. And the way that Demario went, you would think they would, but then at the same time, Mark Anthony wasn't backing down. I was like, ooh, and out. So it was Corvea. You know, she was the one that went home, and I wasn't surprised. I will say that unless we're not seeing something, I just found it really weird how much she talked about Demario and Demario talked about her, but also the fact that other women were talking about him and Corvea like they were just so strong. You know, if you remember back when they had the resort season and how Chris went so hard for Naya, and then when Naya dogged him, he was eventually eliminated because they were like, I mean, you didn't explore anybody else. So it was kind of giving that same vibe, but without all the footage. Because as far as I knew, their boat interaction was like kind of the first time that they seemed to kind of get a little deeper with each other, but not enough for me to feel like if I was there, like, ooh, that's his girl. Where? So I just found it to be kind of weird that they kept bringing it up, you know? But anyway, so after they eliminate her, unsurprisingly, they decide to take the party onto the land and they go to the Hard Rock Cafe. And then they have a little dancing party, and I was like, okay, everybody dancing on somebody. Like, nobody was dancing with somebody who we thought they were connected with. You saw all different types of little dance partners. I will say that this was kind of the last time we got to see Mark Anthony and Mercedes because we didn't see them do any dates this week, and we didn't see Mercedes until Deliberation. And I feel like they always do that. Like, when there's, until they get down to maybe 5 or so, there's always like one person who you didn't see do a date. And it was like, where were you all episode? But then you're going to come into Deliberation and have a little something to say. Okay. So, you know, there's clearly all this tension between Jeffrey, Sue-Ann, and Blake kind of in the mix. And so when we get into the dates, you know, after this party, the first one is between Demario and Jeffrey. Ooh, that's all I gotta say is, ooh, that was messy. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was with Cynthia and Anthony. I know I didn't talk about them in my last review, but they had their date. They seemed to be really vibing, and she got over Andre real quick. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be hooked up or hung up on one person, and if something goes, awry with them, you just can't move on. No, this is still early enough in the process for all of them to make connections. Because honestly, maybe next episode, but I after maybe one or two more episodes, I expect for them to still keep exploring. I don't really expect to see anybody just completely zoned in on one person just yet. You got your little options, but I don't expect to see like solidified connections just yet. So, Cynthia, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And thank you for not being so hung up on Andre. And I'm really glad that no one mentioned him, because that's what happens a lot of times when someone is gone. They keep mentioning it, and it's like, they're gone. Unless you're going to go with them, move on. So, okay, now we get into the date that I was mentioning, Jeffree and Demario. Oh, Lord have mercy. This was a date. Oh my God, Demario is a weird dude. You know, it seems to come out of nowhere. The way he was going hard for Corvea was super weird. Now, we need to do now. The lips and the veins in his neck. Oh my God. Gee. And then the way he was talking with Jeffree, dude, you are hurt, but you are petty hurt, okay? There are different types of like hurt. You know, this was a petty hurt, the way he was talking about her. So now I will say that Jeffree plays dumb a lot. And a part of me is kind of like, I hate that she does that. And another part of me is like, well, what do you know? Because sometimes your words can be twisted because you spoke first. And it's kind of like, for me, because you're coming at me, obviously, I want to be armed up first. And you could easily kind of knock at me because I spoke first. I gave you all the ammo when it's your feelings that are hurt. So why don't you speak first? So it's interesting if this is the second time that she has been in a situation with a man on the show where she's playing dumb about, well, what is it? Like, what is it? But I did find it interesting that they were saying that it's been so long since I've spoken to each other, when in this date she says the boat party was yesterday. So I'm like, how was this a long time ago? I'm thinking days have passed, when really it was just a couple of hours, because y'all did have a dance party at night. So that was kind of, kind of weird to me that they said that, but whatever. And so basically during this whole time, he doesn't like that she kissed Marc Anthony, but she's also saying how, well, you and I haven't really spoken, okay? And I had a date with him right before the party, which she did. You know, we saw that with Marc Anthony. So she's kind of like, why would you expect me to kiss you when we haven't really spoken since our last date? And who knows when that was, you know? As far as we know, that was 2 episodes ago. So she just was kind of like, what do you expect? But he just couldn't accept that. Because to me, I couldn't understand him in that moment, maybe being a little confused if he didn't know that she had a date with him. But now that she's explained it to him, like, I had a date with him recently. It went great. So you and I also haven't really spoken. So, and he still was like was on a silent 10. Like, he didn't talk to her in the same manner that he did with Marc Anthony over the Liberations, but his energy was still high because of the other things he was saying. And so eventually he decided to bring up her kids. And I was surprised that she didn't go harder on him, because the way she was with Blake was the way I would think she would have been towards Demario, the way he brought up her kids. Because he said, you know, how would your kids feel you kissing another man? What? When he said that, I felt instant elimination, because that is uncalled for, so rude, so childish, so just unnecessary, okay? Completely unnecessary, completely weird. So I was surprised that she was calm as she was and just kind of explained herself. They would be happy for him because mommy's exploring, what she likes and isn't settling on somebody, essentially, with him because she don't really know him. And he didn't like that answer. Well, I feel like I may have phrased that up wrong, but essentially he didn't really like what she said, because I don't think she reacted the way that he thought she would. Because to me, because he felt that her kissing Mark Anthony in front of him was such a dig to him, he felt like he had to go at a dig with her. And he brought up her kids, which, like I said, petty, super petty. So I was instantly turned off by that. I mean, nothing about him was attractive to me. Nothing about him was appealing. So he had nothing to gain with me, like to lose, but it was like you couldn't get worse, but he did. And then he kept getting worse in his interviews because he was saying how he felt like he dodged a bullet with her, one, because he's never seen her without makeup. Boy, okay, you are just, ooh, ooh, because she said that you have only had one date with her. Why would you see her without her makeup? That's multiple dates. That's seeing me in the comfort of my home type of date. What? Okay. And then he had mentioned how she doesn't take accountability or she doesn't like criticism. He said one of those. And he just was getting on her about kissing a man that she didn't know. Honestly, sir, it would have been the same deal or the same thing if she had kissed you instead of him. It's the same situation. Y'all all met at the same time. No one knows each other well like that. You guys are all still pretty much strangers, which is why we really haven't seen kissing on the show yet. I mean, we did now because between Tony and Morgan, but so that was goodbye. And then the faces he was making. And, last week how he had said, she let him kiss her. First of all, this was her dare. Let's remember that. She picked this to get a kiss from her strongest connection. And she chose Mark Anthony. So why would she move away from him or decline it if she's the one who asked for it? Because it was her dare. It wasn't Mark Anthony's dare. It was hers. So your feelings or your reasonings make absolutely no sense in any way. Now, her trying to downplay it as a game wasn't cute either. We've all saw the DC where it wasn't a game no more when it happened with Sabrina and Tori and Demetrius, okay? Them games be something. But she can't downplay it because a kiss is a kiss, okay? And it was a kiss. It wasn't a little peck on the cheek or a little peck lip. That was a kiss. I was like, ooh, okay, that was a kiss. So anyway, we move on to the next petty date. And this episode to me was just a mix of petty dates, weird dates, I guess some good dates. This was an interesting mix of dates. I feel like I've been watching Ready Love for a long time, and I don't feel like we've had so many mix of dates in one episode. We had 2 good dates, 2 bad dates, and 1 in between, So it was interesting. So we have a group date with Marcia, Jeffrey, Blue, and Blake. When I heard Marcia listing the names, I said, what is you doing? You up to something. And then she revealed. Girl wanted to be nosy, okay? She wanted to know what was going on between Jeffrey and Blake, and she wanted to that's what it was. You set that up to be nosy, and it didn't work because neither of them spoke on it. So I kind of laughed at that because something about Marcia to me seems like the petty type. So the fact that she did that and it didn't work, I found that kind of funny. But listen, this date, I hate woo-saw dates like that, okay? Where they be inclined with your energy and synergy and all of that. When I tell you, when that camera had a weird zoom in. Okay, that was a weird like zoom in, kind of showing all the skin like that. But the cameraman was zooming in on Marcia's face, Jeffrey's face, Blue face. Their eyes are closed. They're zenning. When they jump to Blake's face, his eyes are wide open. Oh my God. I had to pause and just let out a good laugh because I knew he wasn't going to like this date, okay? Because to me, he seems like the kind of guy that would rather do something that's much more expensive, like he can get dressed up for. Not these exercise days, not these woo-sawing days. Like he wants a nice day, and I don't blame him. I do too. So I knew he wasn't gonna like it, but I didn't think his eyes would be. Oh my God, oh my God, that was so funny. Oh my God, when I tell you dying laughing, that was hilarious the way his eyes were wide open in that scene. Ooh, ooh, that was so funny. Now, I wasn't expecting them. This was a long date because not only did they woo-saw, they also did like, what's it called? Like, you know, when you do, like vision boards and you take pieces of papers and images and words from magazines and you put it together. That's what they were doing. And child, Jeffrey and Blake. Now I'll say this. I don't like Jeffrey. It's so weird. Like I feel like she gets in these moments with these men that make you root for her and then make you dislike her. Like I was rooting for her with DeMario because I didn't like how he was coming at her. But then I was rooting for Blake because I didn't like how she was coming at him. Because she was being petty. Because because once they did their thing, they showed it to each other and talked about it. And Blake had a lot of watches and he had something else. But he was basically saying how time is super important to him. That's why he had all the watches. And Jeffrey gonna come out and say, so I see it very materialistic and you have like there's no family. And he was like, so you missed the point because I said time, which is what a watch is all about. I was like, yeah, he got you there, sis. You intentionally trying to be petty and it's not working. Like I was with Blake on this. And Blake is not the kind of guy you want to be with as far as like on the side with, but he got you there. I wasn't mad at it. So, you know, eventually Marcia, like I said, she tried to bring it up between Blake and Jeffrey about their tension on the boat and they weren't feeling it. He said, I'm not going to talk about it straight up. And she just kind of was like, I mean, ain't nothing much to say. And I was like, thank you, because we had a whole moment of that and I don't want to repeat. That was annoying because Blake was being weird about it. So, yeah, leave it be. So I'm trying to think. Oh, so Morgan and Tony, they had their date. And I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't paying attention. Like, I know I said there were some good dates, and there were. Like, Cynthia's date with Anthony was good. Tony and Morgan's date was good. To me, it just solidified some connections that we saw brewing. I guess Morgan feels good with Tony. He kissed her. This was the first well, not the, okay. I know the first kiss, if I'm remembering correctly, that we truly saw on this season is between Mark Anthony and Jeffrey. But to me, this was like a first like connection kiss. Like we're feeling each other. The moment's good. The date was going good. And I feel like it was built up good. And I'm hoping, you know, Miss Morgan feel good with her connection. Even though according to her, she feels that production was being shady, trying to make it seem like she was insecure about Tony, but really she was talking about Anthony. Girl, don't nobody care because you all about Tony, so I don't believe her. I think she just wanted to say that just to hide face, but I don't believe her. I think it was what it was. Because I don't think their editing would have been that smooth. Because it sounded like it flowed like an actual sentence as she said Tony and not Anthony. So, whatever. Anyway, so yeah. But they were going back and forth between showing Tony and Morgan's date and then showing Jonique and Blake's date. And again, Blake's date with Jonique is just like it was with Z. Awkward, not giving much. I will say Jonique, I mean, she's not awkward like Z was, but she was trying. Like, do you want to know more? And I just don't think she's his type. I think because to me, you can tell that Jonique is a girl who want to have fun and not in a bad way. Like, she looked like she probably would get loud and just be like a little turn up girl. There's something about her that reminds me of Lauren London when she was in ATL, like Nunu. She gives me Nunu vibes from there, like her energy. But she's sweet. I think she's a sweet girl. I think she came off a bit abrasive because she was really loud. She didn't like that Cynthia was already there when they had her group date, but we're seeing a softer side to her. So I'm liking that. She's not coming off as like this like strong person. So I do like that. And Blake made it awkward, but not her. So cool. Were there any, I don't think there were any more dates. I think that was it for the episode. So that's good. You know, like I said, we had a really good mix of dates. And so we get to deliberations. And again, Jeffrey and Sue-Ann are going at it. Which I don't understand. It's weird to me. I think, I think the fact that maybe Jeffrey, there could be some jealousy. I don't know. Honestly, it's very annoying. Like it's not like juicy tea to me every time they talk. It's petty, annoying. They just say little things at each other. So when they have their elimination dates or eliminates, let's be honest, like Demario and Blake, clear bottoms, and I'm not surprised that it was Demario that went home, but I don't think we've ever had someone be in the bottom 3 times, first of all, period, and still stay on the show, but also in a row. Literally every time there has been a man up for for elimination, it has been Blake every time. So I guess what he putting on Sue is working, but honestly, I feel like he lucks out because as bad as Blake is, there's always someone worse than him that week, you know? Because I think the first week with Dre, no women was feeling anything. I don't think they could get past that. I don't think they could get past it. He just was not attractive. Blake is a decent looking man, and I think they wanted to maybe see, okay, maybe we can move past the little weirdness he said about kids and broken homes and that type of stuff. And then the second week with Fabrice, I mean, it didn't matter how horrible of a man. You could have put David from Houston next to him, and Fabrice would have still been the only one to go home. And now with Demario, I think because of how straight up disrespectful Demario was, I couldn't get past that. Like, you bringing up my kids in that type of negative way, it's not it. And no woman would take that. I don't have kids, and I can't even take that. I just find it funny that Blake is the first person in Ready to Love history who's been in the bottom more than twice and is still here. Because sometimes you'll get people in the bottom twice, that does happen. And usually that second time they're gone. And then honestly, I can't think of a person who's been in it 3 times and then maybe that third time they were out. But Blake is still pushing through. Him is. So go Blake. I guess. So there's that. So next week it's the men's turn, and like the men's turn to send a woman home. And I think I could see Marcia or Jonique going home next, because I can tell that Morgan is getting established with Tony. Cynthia's getting established with Anthony. Sue-Ann is getting established with Blake, obviously. And then Jeffrey and Mercedes are both getting pretty established with Mark Anthony. So to me, I'm just like not seeing a strong connection with Marcia and Jonique. But personally, I could see Marcia going before Jonique because I think Jonique had more names for her than against her than Marcia did. Marcia was in the bottom. So, and I still don't see a connection with her. And, Blue has already written her off. So we'll see. But I do think it'll be between Marcia and Jonique to go home next. Between those two. So, yeah. Let me know what y'all thought. I thought this was a really interesting episode. Like I said, Demario showed out, Jeffrey showed out, Blake stays showing out. I mean, what's new? But I gotta admit, he was very funny in this episode. Them eyes. Oh my God.